Welcome back to the deep dive. If you are new here, here's the deal. We don't just do reviews. We don't just skim the dust jacket.
Not at all.
We view this show as a specialized extraction mission. We take a massive stack of research, heavy source texts, sometimes medical journals, and we distill it all down into the absolute essentials for you, the learner.
Exactly. We're here to connect the dots that usually get missed.
We know you're busy, maybe you're commuting, maybe you're prepping for a big meeting, or maybe you're just trying to optimize your life. So our job is to get you those aha moments without all the fluff.
And today's topic is one that I think every single person listening can relate to, whether they want to admit it or not. We're looking at the healing code, Mastering Stress for Mind-Body Restoration by Dr. Alexander Loyd and Dr. Ben Johnson, with a foreword by Jordan Rubin.
And let me tell you, when I first picked up this material, I was a little skeptical. You know me, I love a good self-help book, but the title, The Healing Code, it sounds a bit
mystical.
Mystical, yeah. It sounds like something you'd find in the back of a dusty shop that smells like incense. But then I saw the central premise, the hook that just drags you in right on page 1, and I thought, okay, we need to talk about this.
It is a startling premise. It's one of those claims that, if it's even partially true, it forces you to completely rethink how you operate as a human being.
It really is. The authors claim that over 90% of all illness, physical, emotional, mental, is linked to a single root cause.
Let that sink in.
Just for a second. It's not just genetics. It's not just bad luck. It's not even just germs or, the guy sneezing on you in the subway. It is stress.
And that number 90% is heavy. It's a figure they pull from sources like the CDC and various medical studies cited in the book, but it just changes how you view everything. If that statistic holds, it means the vast majority of what we suffer from, whether it's a chronic condition like an autoimmune disease or just feeling burnout and brain fog, stems from one single mechanism.
Right. And our mission today isn't just to tell you to relax or take a bubble bath. We are going to unpack the physiological and, honestly, the subconscious mechanisms of stress that this book describes. Because they aren't talking about, I had a bad day stress. They're talking about something much, much deeper.
A foundational issue.
And of course, we're going to get to the solution. The authors propose a specific 6-minute protocol that they claim can actually fix this root cause.
And that is where the distinction becomes really interesting for me. We need to analyze the difference between healing and treating. Because, as we'll see, the authors argue they are two completely different things. Most of us spend our lives treating, and very few of us ever actually get to healing.
So, tone check for today. I'm undeniably excited because, let's be real, I'm always looking for a shortcut to feeling better. If there's a code to fix my stress, I want it. I want to punch that code in and just reboot the whole system.
And I'm ready to be the voice of reason. I want to look at the mechanism. How does this actually work? Is it a placebo? Is it purely physiological? Is it quantum physics? I really want to understand the why behind the how.
Perfect. So let's dive in. Let's start with the authors themselves to set the stage. Who are these guys? Because whenever I see a book promising a cure-all, my first question is always about the credentials.
Well, it's an interesting pairing. You have Dr. Alexander Loyd and Dr. Ben Johnson. They come from this background of self-help and mind-body healing, but they do have legitimate clinical backgrounds. Dr. Loyd has PhDs in psychology and naturopathy.
Okay, so a mix of traditional and alternative.
Exactly. And the story goes, he originally developed this code out of sheer desperation, trying to help his wife, who was suffering from severe long-term clinical depression. He says he tried everything and nothing worked, so he went looking for something completely new.
And then there's Dr. Johnson. He brings the medical side to it.
Right. Dr. Ben Johnson is a medical doctor, a DO, a doctor of osteopathic medicine. And his story is particularly compelling because he was actually diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS.
Which is, that's considered a terminal diagnosis.
Essentially a death sentence. And he claims that he used Loyd's methods on himself, and it completely reversed his condition. He says he cured himself. After that experience, he partnered up with Loyd to write the book. He also appeared in that famous documentary, The Secret, so he's very much in that power of the mind sphere.
So you have a psychologist and a medical doctor coming together with this pretty radical idea, and their central thesis is fascinating. They basically say that most of the things we call problems, physical diseases, anxiety, relationship struggles, those are all just symptoms. They aren't the problem itself.
That's a crucial flip in perspective, and it's really the foundation of the whole book. Usually, if you have a headache, you think the headache is the problem.
Of course.
If you have a rash, the rash is the problem.
Yeah.
If you're depressed, you think the chemical imbalance is the problem. But they are arguing that these are merely the smoke signals. The fire is something else entirely.
So if those are the symptoms, the mystery is, what is the underlying cause? And the book says it's this specific thing they call a stress pattern.
Exactly. And I want you, the listener, to take a second right now. Think about that nagging issue you have. Maybe it's a cough that just won't go away, or a recurring pain in your back, or maybe it's just this constant low-grade hum of anxiety when you check your email.
Oh, I have that hum. It's loud. It's like a refrigerator running in the back of my head constantly.
Right. We all do, in some form. The authors are asking you to consider, what if you've been trying to fix the cough or the anxiety directly, but you're actually just swatting at the smoke? What if the source is buried much, much deeper?
What if the refrigerator noise isn't the problem, but a warning that the motor is overheating?
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
You're trying to muffle the sound instead of fixing the machine.
Oh, wait, that brings us right into our first section, redefining stress. Because I think when people hear the word stress, they think of traffic jams, they think of a boss yelling at them, they think of, I'm busy. But this book seems to be talking about something much bigger, something that's almost like a silent killer.
It is much bigger. They use what we can call the iceberg concept, the traffic jams and the deadlines. That's just the 10% of the iceberg that's visible above the water. That is situational stress. It's acute, it happens, and then it's over.
Okay.
The book defines the real problem, the massive 90% of the iceberg that's submerged below the water, as something physiological, emotional, mental, and even spiritual. It's a systemic state of being. It's chronic.
So let's go back to that 90% statistic. 90% of illness is linked to stress. That is such a bold claim. How do they justify that biologically? Because if I get the flu, that's a virus. If I break my leg, that's gravity. How is that stress?
It comes down to the immune system. This is the fascinating deep dive into physiology the book offers. They argue that the immune system is perfectly capable of healing almost anything. Viruses, bacteria, tissue damage, even mutations that could become cancer, if it's functioning correctly.
That stress stops it.
Precisely. Think of your body like a country. You have a national budget. You have resources you can allocate to infrastructure, like building bridges, repairing roads, cleaning up trash. That's your body's growth and repair mode. In the body, that's your immune system, fixing cells, digesting food, creating new tissue. This is the domain of the parasympathetic nervous system.
The rest and digest state, we've heard that term before.
Correct. But you also have resources for the military. That's your fight or flight mode. That's for dealing with an invasion or an immediate threat. This is the sympathetic nervous system. The key biological fact is that the body cannot be in both modes at the same time. It's a toggle switch. An either or?
Okay, let me unpack this analogy because it's really clicking for me. So if I'm stressed, even if it's just some subconscious stress I'm not aware of, my body is essentially funneling all of its money, all its resources to the military.
Yes. It strips resources from the Department of Road Repair and the Department of Public Health and sends it all to the Department of Defense. When you are in fight or flight, your body shuts down digestion because you don't need to digest lunch if you're about to be lunch for a predator.
Right.
It halts long-term tissue repair. It narrows your vision. It pumps your muscles full of blood. And, most importantly for this discussion, it suppresses the immune system. Because if you are running from a tiger, you don't need to fight a flu virus. You need to survive the next 5 minutes.
That makes total sense in the wild. If a bear is chasing me, I don't care about my long-term cellular health. I care about my legs moving fast.
Yeah.
My body is making an executive decision for survival.
Exactly. The system is brilliant for short-term survival, but that is the tragedy of modern life. We aren't running from tigers, but our bodies react to an angry email from our boss or a financial worry or just a vague sense of dread about the future, as if it were a tiger.
So the body doesn't know the difference between death is imminent and my tax audit is imminent.
It does not. The primitive part of the brain, the amygdala, just sees threat. The hypothalamus signals the pituitary, which signals the adrenals, and boom, you are flooded with cortisol and adrenaline. The problem is the tiger never leaves. The angry email is followed by a stressful commute, which is followed by a worry about bills.
We end up in a state of chronic stress.
We are permanently in war mode, so the bridges and roads inside our bodies never get fixed. The trash piles up, eventually the infrastructure collapses. And that, according to the book, is illness.
Wow. That is a terrifyingly clear way to put it. So the illness isn't really the invader. The illness is the result of the defense system being distracted for too long. The city falling into disrepair because the army is always on high alert at the gates.
That's a great way to put it. The illness is an opportunistic infection of a weakened state. A pothole becomes a sinkhole. And here is where it gets really interesting and a little scary. The authors emphasize that this stress, this war mode, is often stored and run from the subconscious mind.
The subconscious factor. This was the part of the book that really got me. Because I might be sitting here, drinking my coffee, feeling fine. I don't feel like I'm fighting a tiger. But the book says my body might still be freaking out.
Yes. They use the analogy of a computer. You know, when your computer starts running really slow or the fan starts whirring like a jet engine, but you only have one window open, maybe just a single document.
Oh yeah, and I'm clicking furiously and nothing is happening. It's the spinning wheel of death. Infuriating.
It's because there are 20 programs running in the background. You can't see them on the desktop, but they are eating up all your RAM and your battery power. Your subconscious mind is the hard drive. It remembers every trauma, every fear, every negative belief you've ever had, especially from childhood. If those programs are running in the background, what the authors call cellular memories, your body is reacting to them constantly.
So I might consciously think, I'm safe, I'm happy, I'm having a good day, but my subconscious is running a program from when I was 7 years old that says, I'm not good enough, or the world is a dangerous place.
Exactly. And because the subconscious controls the autonomic nervous system, all the automatic stuff like heart rate, breathing, and hormone release, your body is responding to the danger signal of that background program, not to your current reality.
No.
You are chemically in a state of stress, even if you consciously feel calm.
That explains so much. It explains why you can go on a vacation, lie on a beach for a week, drink the pina coladas, and still get sick or feel utterly exhausted. The background programs didn't turn off just because you changed your physical location.
Right. You took the laptop with you. The virus is in the software, not in the room you're sitting in.
Okay, that is a heavy diagnosis. We are all walking around with corrupted hard drives, and our bodies are paying the price. This leads us directly into this second section of our deep dive, the paradigm shift. We need to distinguish between what the medical world usually does, treatment, and what this book proposes, healing.
This is a vital distinction. It's the core of their argument.
So break this down for us. What is the difference, according to the authors, between treating and healing?
Think of it like a fire alarm going off in your house. The alarm is loud, it hurts your ears, it's incredibly disruptive. That's the symptom, the pain, the anxiety, the rash, the insomnia.
Okay, nobody likes the alarm. The goal is to make it stop.
Medical treatment, in the author's view, is often like going over to the wall and taking the batteries out of the smoke detector.
It stops the noise. Problem solved.
It stops the noise. It manages the pain with a painkiller. It suppresses the rash with a cream. It calms the anxiety attack with a pill. And let's be very clear, and the authors are clear on this too, sometimes you need to silence the alarm. If you are in acute pain, you need relief. This isn't about dismissing modern medicine. If I break my arm, please take me to a hospital to set the bone.
Right, we aren't saying throw away your prescriptions. The book frames this as a complement to medicine, not a replacement.
Exactly. But taking the batteries out of the alarm doesn't put out the fire. Healing, according to Dr. Loyd and Dr. Johnson, is finding the fire, that underlying stress pattern or background program, and extinguishing it. When you do that, the alarm stops ringing on its own because there's no more smoke.
That's a powerful image, because if you just keep taking out the batteries, the fire eventually burns the house down.
That is the implication. Healing is internal. Treatment is external. Healing resolves the origin of the problem. Treatment manages the result of the problem.
And this ties into a concept they talk about called the heart-brain connection. We hear about the heart and the brain all the time, but usually separate things. The brain thinks, the heart pumps blood. But they talk about coherence. What is that?
This is where the science gets fascinating, and we start bridging the gap between biology and what some might call spirituality or energy medicine. The book argues that emotional safety is a biological requirement for physical healing. They talk about the heart not just as a pump, but as an energetic and information processing center.
More than just muscle.
Far more. Research from places like the Institute of Heart Math has shown that the heart generates an electromagnetic field that is thousands of times more powerful than the brain's. It can be measured several feet away from the body.
So the heart is broadcasting a signal.
It is, a very powerful one. And when there is conflict between what you think, your brain, and what you feel or believe deep down, your heart, you create incoherence, a chaotic signal.
Give me an example of that conflict. I think we all feel that, but what does it look like?
Okay, let's say your brain says, I am going to get better. I am strong. I am going to ace this presentation at work. That's your conscious thought, your willpower.
A positive affirmation.
Exactly. But your heart, or your deep subconscious belief system, your cellular memories, says, I am weak. I always fail. This is hopeless. I'm a fraud, and they're going to find out.
Oof, yeah. That's a battle I think we've all fought, the imposter syndrome.
That creates a chaotic frequency in the body. It's like static on a radio. Your body's getting two contradictory commands at once.
Yeah.
That static keeps the nervous system in a state of threat. The book posits that you absolutely cannot physically heal if you are emotionally or spiritually in a state of threat. You need heart-brain coherence, where the head and the heart are sending the same harmonious signal of safety and truth.
So positive thinking alone doesn't work if your heart doesn't buy it.
Exactly. In fact, trying to force positive thinking over a deep-seated negative belief can actually increase your stress. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The effort of suppressing the negative belief creates more tension. If you stand in front of a mirror saying, I am rich, when you know you're broke and terrified, your subconscious screams, liar, and your cortisol levels might actually go up.
That is liberating, actually, because I think a lot of people beat themselves up for not being positive enough. They think, if I just thought happier thoughts, I'd be well. But the book says, no, you have to address the underlying feeling, the heart issue, the actual belief.
Yes. You have to reprogram the background app, not just paint over the computer screen with a happy wallpaper. You have to find and heal the memory that says, I'm not safe or I'm not worthy.
Okay, so we have the problem. Stress is the root cause. It's stored in the subconscious as these cellular memories, and it shuts down our immune system. We have the goal. True healing, which means establishing safety and coherence between the heart and brain. Now, the million-dollar question, how do we do it?
The solution.
Let's unpack section 3, the solution, the healing code itself.
This is where we transition from theory to practice. The book proposes a very specific, and I have to say, very simple technique.
Which is key for our listeners. We are the learners. We are busy. We don't have time to go live in an ashram for 6 months or, drink green juice 5 times a day.
Right. The authors emphasize that this is designed for the modern world. It requires only 6 minutes a day.
6 minutes. Everyone has 6 minutes. I can find 6 minutes between meetings. I can find 6 minutes before I fall asleep. That feels achievable.
It's meant to be. The protocol involves 4 components that work together synergistically. It's not just one thing. It involves focused attention, positive intention, visualization, and emotional awareness.
Okay, let's break those down one by one. Focus tact. Attention, that's just mindfulness, right? Being present in the moment.
Yes, focusing on the specific task of healing. You have to stop multitasking. You can't do this while scrolling Instagram or listening to the news. You dedicate the 6 minutes.
Fair enough. Then there is positive intention. How is that different from the positive thinking we just said doesn't work?
It's a subtle but crucial difference. It's not about stating something you don't believe, like, I am perfectly healthy when you feel sick. It's about stating your intention, directing your energy. It's more like a prayer or a command. I am activating my body's God-given healing response to resolve this issue. You're taking command of the ship, not just wishing for a different destination.
Okay, I see. It's an active direction. And visualization.
This is seeing the healing happen, or simply visualizing a state of perfect peace. It's about giving the subconscious a picture of what safety looks like. Since the subconscious thinks in images and feelings, you feed it an image of light, or happy, peaceful memory, to replace the stress image it's been running.
And finally, emotional awareness. This seems important.
It's very important. You don't ignore or fight the bad feelings. You acknowledge them. You say, I feel this anxiety or I feel this sadness without judging it. You simply notice it so you can release it. They have you rate the discomfort, usually on a scale of 1 to 10, before you start so you can track it going down.
Okay, so that's the mental side. But there is a very physical side to this code, right? It's not just sitting and thinking. There are hand positions, and this is where the listeners need to visualize this with us.
This is the part that might look a little strange to an observer, but the authors claim it's the essential physical component. The code involves holding your hands in specific positions near the body, but, and this is key, not touching the body.
Like hovering. Your hands are floating in the air.
Yes, hovering, about 2 to 3 inches away. They identify 4 healing centers, all located on the head and neck.
What are they? Where do I put my hands?
The first is the bridge of the nose, right between the eyebrows. The second is the Adam's apple, directly over the throat area. The third is the temples on both sides of the head, slightly back from the eyes. And the fourth is the jaw, specifically the back of the jawbone, just below the ear on both sides.
Okay, so I'm imagining this. I'm sitting there, my hands are in these positions, my fingers are pointed towards my temples or my jaw, but not touching. What is the mechanism here? Why these spots? Why not my knee or my elbow?
The authors claim these positions help activate the body's energy systems. They reference concepts similar to acupuncture or chakras, but without the needles or physical contact. They argue that these specific centers are the control centers for the entire body.
How so?
They say these 4 locations correspond to and can influence the master glands of the body: the pituitary gland, the pineal gland, the hypothalamus, and the thyroid, as well as higher functions of the central nervous system.
The control centers of the brain and hormones.
Exactly. The pituitary is the master gland of the endocrine system. The hypothalamus is the switchboard that controls the stress response. The theory is that by stimulating these energy centers with your own body's electromagnetic field, because your hands and fingertips do emit a small, measurable amount of energy, you're sending a direct signal to the master glands to switch off the fight or flight response.
So it's like you're using a remote control to turn off the fire alarm system we talked about earlier.
That's the idea. You are physically intervening in the nervous system's stress loop. You are combining the mental intention of healing with the physical signal of safety, and you're directing it right at the biological command center.
And you do this for 6 minutes.
6 minutes total. You cycle through the 4 positions, holding each for maybe 30 seconds to a minute or so, while breathing deeply and focusing on your healing intention or visualization.
It sounds incredibly specific, and I can see why people might be skeptical. It sounds a bit like magic. Wave your hands and cure your stress.
And we will absolutely get to the skepticism, because it's valid and it's important. But the logic internally to the book system holds up. If the problem is an overactive alarm system in the hypothalamus, you need a way to reset it. This is presented as the reset button.
Let's talk about the why of the timing. This is our 4th section. Why consistency beats intensity. I love this concept because I'm definitely guilty of the weekend warrior mentality. You know, I'll eat junk food all week and then do a massive juice cleanse on Sunday to make up for it.
The binge and purge approach to health. It rarely works in the long run.
Exactly. Or I'll run myself ragged and then try to sleep for 14 hours one night. But the book says 6 minutes a day is better than, say, a 2-hour session once a week. Why is that?
It comes back to the nervous system and how we learn new patterns. Think about training a puppy.
Okay, I love puppies. Let's go with this.
If you have a rescue puppy that's very fearful, and all week you yell at it, kick it off the couch, and generally scare it, and then you spend 2 hours on Sunday being really, really nice, giving it all the best treats and cuddling it, is that puppy going to feel safe and trust you on Monday morning?
No. The puppy is going to be confused and probably more terrified. It doesn't trust that the safety will last. It's waiting for the yelling to start again.
Exactly. Your nervous system is the puppy. It has learned over years or even decades of stress that the world is a dangerous place. It expects the tiger. It needs regular, consistent inputs of safety to believe that the war is over. If you do the healing code for 6 minutes every day, you are sending a daily signal. We are safe. We are safe. We are safe.
So it's about retraining the baseline. It's not about a big dramatic event. It's about small daily course corrections.
It's about neuroplasticity. You are literally carving a new neural pathway in your brain. You want to shift your default mode from alert and threatened to calm and at peace. You can't do that with one intense session. You do it with small, consistent nudges. It's like compounding interest in a bank account. Small daily deposits add up to a fortune over time.
That makes so much sense. Those 6 minutes add up to a complete shift in your physiology over time. It's not about the magnitude of the effort in one sitting. It's about the frequency of the signal.
And the authors argue this has a holistic impact. Because if you lower that baseline stress frequency, it doesn't just fix your stomach ache or your back pain. It affects everything.
How so?
Well, think about how you interact with your spouse or your kids when you are stressed out.
I'm snappy, I'm distracted, I'm impatient, I'm not really there with them, you know? My mind is on the threat.
Right. Now imagine that baseline stress is gone.
Yeah.
Suddenly, you are present, you are patient, you have more capacity for empathy, your relationships improve automatically without you even working on them. Your mental clarity at work improves because you aren't running those 20 background programs stealing all your RAM. The logic is, fix the frequency, and the music of your entire life sounds better.
Fix the frequency. I like that. So it really is a holistic claim. It's not just cure your illness, it's fix your life.
Which is a very big promise.
Yeah.
And whenever we hear big promises, we need to put on our skeptic hats. That brings us to section 5, We need to do a critical analysis. We are the deep dive, after all. We don't just drink the Kool-Aid.
Right. We sip the Kool-Aid, swirl it around, check the ingredients, and maybe ask for a peer-reviewed study on the Kool-Aid's efficacy. So let's look at the reception of this book. It has a 4.5 out of 5-star rating on Amazon with thousands and thousands of reviews. That's high.
It is very high. And when you look at the user feedback, the pro side is very compelling. You see people reporting that it's a simple technique, and they talk about powerful emotional benefits.
I saw a lot of reviews mentioning anxiety reduction specifically, people saying things like, I felt a weight lift off my chest that I didn't even know was there, or I stopped overreacting to little things.
Yes, that seems to be the most immediate and commonly reported effect. Even if people don't see their chronic disease vanish overnight, they report feeling lighter, calmer, and less reactive. They sleep better. They feel more in control.
And the accessibility is a major pro. You don't need a prescription. You don't need a doctor's appointment. You don't need to buy a $500 device. You can start this today in your living room for free, just based on the book.
That encourages self-responsibility. It empowers you, the listener, to take charge of your own health, which is a powerful psychological shift in and of itself. When you stop feeling like a victim of your body and start feeling like its partner, that alone changes your body's chemistry.
But we have to look at the other side, the limitations, the con side. Because not everyone is sold on the hovering hands idea.
No. And the biggest limitation, and we have to be honest here, is the scientific gap. The authors are doctors, yes, but the book relies very heavily on personal testimonials and anecdotes.
Stories of, I did this and my cancer went away, or my migraines that I had for 20 years just stopped.
Exactly. And while those stories are incredibly moving, and I don't doubt the sincerity of the people telling them, they are anecdotes. They are not double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trials published in major medical journals. The scientific community generally wants more rigorous data before accepting a claim as massive as 90% of illness is stress, and this hand position technique fixes it.
And there's the woo factor. We can't ignore it.
No. The spiritual language, the talk of energy healing, the hand positions, it can alienate skepticism-prone readers. If you are a hardcore materialist who only believes in what you can touch and measure with current instruments, this might feel a little too magic wand for you.
Some reviewers did mention that. I saw comments like, the claims feel exaggerated without data, and too many anecdotal success stories, it starts to feel like a sales pitch. It can feel a bit like an infomercial at times.
Which is a fair critique. However, I want to synthesize this for a moment. I want to build a bridge for the skeptic, for the person listening to this thinking, this sounds like nonsense. Even if we are skeptical about the energy beams coming from the fingers.
Right, let's say that part is just metaphor.
Let's look at the risk-reward ratio. What is the risk of trying this?
You look a little silly for 6 minutes in your bedroom. You lose 6 minutes of your day.
That's it. That's a very low risk.
And the reward?
Well, the potential reward is huge. If it works as described, you heal. But even if it works merely as a placebo, or merely as a structured relaxation technique,
you're still reducing your stress?
Exactly. Think about what you are actually doing. You are stopping your busy, frantic day. You are sitting still and being quiet. You are breathing deeply. You are focusing your mind on positive thoughts and feelings of safety. We know from countless studies that these actions lower cortisol. We know that they engage the parasympathetic rest and digest nervous system.
So even if the magic of the hand positions isn't real, the mechanism of relaxation is real.
Precisely. If sitting for 6 minutes and focusing on peace lowers your blood pressure and boosts your immune system, which it will, then that is real. The stress reduction is physiological, regardless of whether you believe in the energy mechanism or the chakras. The outcome is what matters.
That is a really, really good point. If the mechanism is magic, or if the mechanism is just meditation 2.0, the result, lowered cortisol, better immune function, is the same. It works, even if we can't agree on why it works.
Precisely. So even for the most hardened skeptic, there is value here. It's a structured, repeatable ritual for stopping the war in your body for 6 minutes.
So let's bring this home for the learner. This is our final section, the practical takeaway. I'm listening to this, I've got a meeting in an hour that I'm nervous about, or I'm driving home from a long day. How do I apply this knowledge right now?
Step 1. Recognition. Recognize that if you are feeling fatigue, brain fog, physical pain, or irritability, it is highly likely that stress is the root. Stop blaming the weather. Stop blaming the mattress. Stop blaming the coffee. Look at the stress. Identify the iceberg underneath the surface.
Okay. Acknowledge the real enemy. Step 2.
Understand that trying harder to relax often adds more stress. This is a huge key. The code is not about forcing relaxation. It's not about gritting your teeth and saying, I will relax. It's about allowing the body to reset. It's a passive activation.
Explain that distinction for me. Trying versus allowing.
When you try to fix a problem, you are fighting it. You are creating tension. I must get rid of this headache. That creates resistance. When you allow, you are opening a door. You are creating a space. You are saying, my body is designed to heal. I am now giving my body the space and safety it needs to do its job. It's surrender, not conquest.
I love that. Stop trying to fix it and start allowing it to heal. What's step 3?
The power of intention. Whether you use the specific hand positions from the book or not, you must explicitly direct your nervous system toward healing. Most of us spend all day directing our nervous system toward survival, or worry, or meeting deadlines. Take 6 minutes to consciously direct it toward peace, safety, and restoration.
Reframing health is the big mindset shift here. It's shifting from fixing what's broken to removing the stress that is breaking it.
There's a quote from the source material that sums this up perfectly. The problem isn't your body, it's the stress controlling it.
That changes everything. It means my body is actually on my side. It's not failing me, it's just overwhelmed.
It's the victim of the background programs you've been running. Clear the programs, remove the stress, and the body will do the rest. It wants to heal. It knows how to heal. It just needs the resources and the safety to do so.
So as we wrap up this extraction mission, let's look at the journey we've been on. We started with that absolutely scary stat, 90% of illness is stress. We moved through the iceberg of the subconscious, distinguished between treating symptoms versus healing the roots, unpacked the physiology of the fight or flight response, and finally learned the 6-minute hand position technique.
It's a journey from fear to empowerment. It tells us that we aren't helpless. We have controls. We have a reset button.
I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought, a provocative closing thought to mull over as you go about your day. We've talked a lot about physical health. We've talked about curing disease. But if our bodies are designed to heal themselves perfectly when stress is removed,
here's the question. What incurable problems in your life, not just your health, but maybe your stalled career, or your persistent relationship struggles, or your creative blocks, are actually just maintenance issues caused by a stress program you've been running in the background for 10, 20, maybe 30 years?
wow. What if the only thing standing between you and the life you actually want is a 6-minute reset of your own internal operating system?
If you fix the signal, you fix the broadcast.
Yeah.
Your whole reality could change. It's worth finding out.
It certainly is. So to our listeners, try the 6 minutes, be the puppy that gets the treat every single day, see what happens. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Stay curious.